leaving off the rational expressions. Well, I guess before we did adding and subtracting, we did simplifying, right? So just to kind of refresh our memories here, where we were factoring and canceling, you remember that stuff, okay, to try and come up with our solution. We did multiplying and dividing. When you divide, you flip over the right-hand side. Then we did the adding and subtracting of rational expressions. So just a quick recap there. But today, we are going to solve rational equations. So this will be a little bit different. You know, it's an equation and not an expression. So let's make a new section here. Solving rational equation. So we know rational means fraction. Equations means it has to have an equal sign. So something like this would be an example. Let's say we have 2 minus 3x over x plus 1 is equal to negative 5 over x plus 1. All right, so when you are solving rational equations, if you were going to pay attention today for 1 minute, this would be the 1 minute to pay attention, because all rational equations use the same method. Here it is. You are going to multiply everything by the common denominator. And you're going to multiply everything by the common denominator. I'm going to move this down. I don't know if that line there is messing anybody up, but I don't want anybody to get confused by that. So in this case, our common denominator, because that's like 2 over 1, of course, our common denominator is x plus 1. So we are going to multiply x plus 1 on the left piece, x plus 1 on the middle piece, and x plus 1 on the right piece, not the top and bottom. We are only multiplying, which really means only multiplying the top. And we can do that because it's an equation. As long as you do the same thing on one side, you do to the other, that's legal. Okay, the algebra gods allow that to happen. But we're only multiplying the top, not the top and the bottom. And so that's different. That makes it different than the methods that we were using for expressions. And that's why I'm really, emphasizing that word. Okay, we're only multiplying the top by the common denominator. And when you do that, the reason we do that is so now we can cancel the denominators. So in this case, in the middle, the x plus 1's cancel. And on the right side, the x plus 1's cancel. And so my next line is going to be 2 times x plus 1, or better known as 2x plus 2. I distributed that. And I have minus 3x in the middle. And that equals negative 5. And now denominator's gone. This is an easy problem you guys have been solving for years. Just get everything on one side and we're good. Get all the x's on one side, right? So, I'll combine my like terms. On the left, I get negative x. I'll move that guy over. So negative x equals negative 7, or x comes out to be 7. And we are done. So again, the method is multiply everything by the common denominator. And the whole reason to do that is so that all the denominators cancel. So your second line should not have any denominators, or a denominator of 1, of course. Okay. And if it has denominators, that means you're screwed up. So when we're solving equations, look at that second line and everything should be on the same line. Now, there is one small item that you might need to check and do need to check, and that will be about extraneous solutions. Because they're rational, remember, fractions, we can't have 0 in the denominator. Just check the denominators. If I got an answer of negative 1, I would have to throw that out, because negative 1 would give us 0 in the denominator. but we didn't get that, so we're good. But we should check it always. All right, let's do another rational equation. So let's say we had 2x over x plus 2 plus 1 is equal to 8 over x squared plus 2x. All right, so this one's harder. You know, we have different denominators here. We need to figure out what our common denominator is. So first thing, I can see that this actually factors, and I'm going to factor that before I even mess around with finding the common denominator. I can see that factors into x times x plus 2, which means my common denominator is x times x plus 2. So I'm going to multiply this by the common denominator, this by the common denominator, and that by the common denominator. So I do x times x plus 2 there, x times x plus 2 there, and x times x plus 2 there. Now, I know some of you are sitting at home thinking, all right, I'm not going to write all that out because I'm too lazy to do that. Don't be that person, because you'll make a mistake. It doesn't take that long to write it out. It will save you. Believe me, students, they say, oh, I don't have to write that out. I'll remember that this cancels and that cancels. And invariably, they end up messing something up. So I would not suggest that. And remember, our whole reason for multiplying by the common denominator is so that the denominators cancel. X plus 2's cancel on the left side. The middle, nothing cancels, so I'm going to have to distribute that x. On the right side, both the x and the x plus 2's cancel. And so what I'm left with is 2x times x, or 2x squared, in the middle, I have x times x plus 2, so I'm going to distribute that into x squared plus 2x. And then that equals 8 on the right side. So again, your quick check is that, you know, your second line should only have denominators of 1. All right, now this is quadratic, so it's a little harder, right? Let's get everything on one side. I'll move everything to the left. We got 3x squared plus 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. And now I need to solve that. So, you know, give it the 30-second try and factor it. If not, use the quadratic formula. So let's see, I'm going to try and factor this 3x and x, and I'm only going to give it 30 seconds. If I tried 4 and 2, that's going to be 4x and 6x. That's looking promising. If I did positive 2 and negative 4, that would be positive 6x and negative 4x. So that's why I wanted to practice factoring in our Kahoot, right? Because we want to make sure that we can do this stuff. And so x comes out to be 4/3, okay, whatever makes that equal to 0, and negative 2, whatever makes that equal to 0. Now, don't forget to check for extraneous solutions, because that negative 2 is extraneous, because that would make the denominator equal to 0. And so when we're doing our homework, I would only plug in one answer instead of two answers. All right, I'm going to do one more. All right, so let's go negative 6 over x minus 8 over x plus 8 is equal to negative 5x over x plus 8. So our common denominator is x times x plus 8. So I'm going to multiply everything by the common denominator, right? X times x plus 8 here. X times x plus 8 here. X times x plus 8 here. And we did that so that we can cancel. Cancel x's, cancel x plus 8, cancel x plus 8. If I'm going too fast, please tell me to slow down. So on the left side, I'm distributing the negative 6. So I have negative 6x minus 48. In the middle, I have negative 8x. And that equals negative 5x squared on the right. So I'll move everything over to the left. I have, 5x squared and minus 14x minus 48 is equal to 0. And now I want to try and factor it or use the quadratic formula. Or I'm going to use my calculator to cheat a little bit. I have 5x squared minus 14x minus 48. Watch this. On your calculator, under our tool, we can go to algebra. I think it will factor for us. 5x squared minus 14x minus 48. I think that's right, right? Yeah. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? X plus 2 times 5x minus 24. So that factors into x plus 2 times 5x minus 24. And so x comes out to be negative 2 or 24 over 5. And I could have done the quadratic formula. I would get the same answer, of course. And both of those work because 0 or negative 8, I would have to throw either of those out, but I didn't get either of those. All right, do you have any questions for, I'm going to have you guys try a couple.
Wait, do we not take out the negative 2?
Do we throw it out? Is that what you're saying, Vince?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do not throw out the negative 2 because you always want to check back to the original problem. And in the original, which is way up here, 0 would make the denominator equal to 0 or negative 8. And so those are the only two items that would be extraneous. So
Okay.
good question.
Could you have used 6 and 8?
It would not factor into that because of the 5x squared out front. So you can't do, so you can't do like x minus 6 times x minus 8 because you would not have 5x squared out front. So very good questions. I also have another question in the chat. Instead of, getting everything multiplying by the common denominator, could you first, that student noticed that this and this were like terms, could you combine your like terms? Yes, of course, you could do that first. That would be perfectly fine. So great questions. Anything else? All right, guys, let's go over these and I'm going to go a little quickly. So if I'm going too fast, please let me know. The first one is pretty similar to what we were doing before, where we have a common denominator of x plus 1. In fact, it's exactly what we were doing before. So I'm going to multiply x plus 1 times the first one, the left side, the middle, and the right side. So here I get 2x plus 2. In the middle, the x plus 1's cancel, so I get minus 3x. And on the right side, the x plus 1 cancels, and that equals negative 5. So now it's getting everything on one side. I have negative x equals negative 7, and x comes out to be 7, which is acceptable because the only thing I could not accept would be negative 1. All right, second problem, kind of similar, but different denominator. Our common denominator is x plus 7. So I'm going to write it out 3 times. Yes, go ahead and do it. Write it out 3 times. And that's going to give me x squared plus 7x. Here the x plus 7's cancel, so I get minus x. And then that equals 7. So now I got to get everything on one side. I got x squared plus 6x minus 7 equals 0. And I think that thing is going to factor into x plus 7 times x minus 1. And so our solutions are negative 7 and positive 1. But I know somebody at home is saying, wait a second, don't forget to cross off that extraneous solution. Negative 7 is extraneous because that would give us 0 in the denominator. All right, last but not least, to do this problem, you want to first factor this part. You can factor a GCF of x out, so we get x times x plus 6. And so our common denominator is x times x plus 6. So I'm going to multiply the left side times that, the middle times that, and the right side times that. And so on the left side, the x plus 6 cancels, and I get 6x squared. Now check the middle part. I'm doing negative 1 times x plus 6, which is going to be negative x squared minus 6x. And then on the right side, both of them cancel, and I get equals 8. So I got 5x squared minus 6x minus 8 is equal to 0. And let's see if we can factor that one quickly. So if I tried 4 and 2, that's going to give me negative 10x and positive 4x, and that looks like that's going to work out. And so my solutions are x equals negative 4/5 from here, and x equals positive 2 from here. And both of those are acceptable because I would have to throw out 0 or negative 6, neither of which I had. Any questions?